Hey, it's Carolyn, and I am excited to share with you a few new things that I have on this October release. For this release, I have two new fat quarter bundles. Together, they make a full spectrum of color. That is really what I was excited to put together. I just wanted something exuberant and happy, you know, fabrics that just like called out to you and put a smile on your face. So the bundles are both called Cheering. One is Cheering Warm, which is this one here. And it features the warmer tones that are in this spectrum. So we've got, of course, the oranges and reds that I love, some purpley lilacs and mangoes, and then some marigoldish, it's actually curry and lemon. And then the other bundle is Cheering Cool. So that's the cool end of the spectrum with mint and some blues and lights and darks, as well as kind of an olivey shade, and then more of the pickly, limey kind of yellows, which I love as well. These two bundles can be used separately in projects, or I deliberately designed them together to where you can just stack them like that, and you get a really nice full range of color. And that is something that gets me really excited. With this palette, I was really interested in working with a lot of color saturation. So there's not a lot of low volume prints, there's not a lot of white in this collection. It's all, you know, really pure pieces of color, although there's still a nice range from light to dark. There's also a really fun play with texture in these two bundles. I've mixed pieces from my Printed Basics line, Collection CF, as well as Kona Cotton. There's Essex Linen and Essex Yarn Dye. There's Kona Sheen, which is that nice solid that's got a little bit of shine to it. It's got that foil printed on top. There's also Essex Homespun and even a Carolina Gingham, which is really fun. So together I feel like these not just like a fun mixture of colors, but mixing print and solid and shine and texture really builds out a very rich collection of pieces to work from. Let's take a look at a couple of projects that I've made using these bundles. The first is my olive pattern. This was one of my first patterns that I came out with, and I love this project. It's a tree pattern, it's foundation paper piece. There are just 4 blocks to this project. I've taught it in classes many times. It's a really good classroom project. It's a really good confidence booster because, you know, especially for someone who hasn't done foundation paper piecing before, taking on a project that has a lot of blocks can definitely feel overwhelming. And so I think a project like Olive can be really great because it's just four blocks. You can feel very accomplished after you finish just 4 of them and you're ready to sew together your quilt top. And this olive quilt is made using the warm bundle that I've put together. In fact, all 12 SKUs, those become the blocks for your trees and the background, as well as each of the borders for the different blocks. So the only thing that you need to add to finish this project is your border fabric, binding, and backing. But for me, working with just the 12 SKUs, it was really fun to figure out which one would be the tree, the background, the borders. It was really fun to map out how each of these different fabrics would be used in the blocks. Of course, even using the same bundle, you could pair them up in different ways, and that would result in a little bit of a different project, which would be pretty cool too. The other project that I made is an applique project, and it uses all pieces from both bundles. My bow cheering quilt uses the entire range, so both for fat quarter bundles. You know, I came out with this rainbow quilt. It's called Bow. It's an applique project. And in the first version, I used a Greyscale palette, which was really fun and exciting. But I knew that I would eventually want to make a full color bow. So in this version, I used both bundles, the full range of color. I stacked them up just in this order, and then I started cutting from them, using all of the different pieces to create all of these different arcs in this applique design. I just really love how the different plaids and textures cut up into these different arcs, so I think this is a really fun project to work with. The background on this project is Essex Jungle. I really love using Essex for the background of my applique projects. It gives just a really sturdy background, a really nice texture. It's really nice to applique into it. And in this case, I know I wanted to hand quilt the project, so I knew it would hold up beautifully to hand quilting. Deciding on a color for the background of this project is definitely a fun selection. I really like how it makes the colors just pop right off of the background. It really highlights the brightness of this palette, the happiness of this palette. I just think that it really provides a great background. But of course, you know, you could take the background in a totally different direction and it would give it a very different look. In fact, I think using a light ground on the back would really create a beautiful softness, and that would be interesting to explore as well. This project, it's a throw size, but you only have to applique 24 blocks because there's a very large sort of whole piece portion to the project. So that's really fun. If someone is not super comfortable with applique but wanting to make something larger, this is kind of a great way to get the best of both worlds, where you've got a lot of cool things happening with the applique, and then you've got kind of this generous section of whole cloth to really build out the size. And then that top panel is a really fun place to explore your quilting. In this case, I hand quilted the entire project with a thick white thread. I love how that brings a nice order to the project. It's visible, but it's not too distracting from everything else that's going on too. And with the Essex background, I just love hand quilting on top of that because it makes for a really, really nice texture. These are my 2 new bundles that are available with Robert Kaufman. They are divided into warm and cool, so it's Cheering Warm and Cheering Cool. Those are the names. And the 2 projects that I've made using them are using my olive pattern, which is foundation paper piece, and then my bow quilt pattern, which is an applique project. Thanks so much for taking a look at these new projects. I hope that they are inspiring to you, and I cannot wait to see what you make.